Hello, friends and family. This is going to be kind of an off my normal subject matter and on something that I'm very passionate about. And I just want to share it with you guys because, even not included in my business, I still think that this information's worth getting out. Like, everybody should know this. And it's the kind of information that if I had a voice among millions of people, I would get in big trouble for. I've just learned recently with a few people that I follow and who are renowned in their professions and in their line of work about chronic conditions. And I don't know if you're aware of what's going on in the United States and what has been going on since the late 80s, really. But for those of you who are anywhere over 35 years old, you probably are like me in that I know that in the 70s and 80s, I didn't know anybody that had diabetes. I didn't know any kids that had diabetes. There's no such thing as autism or peanut allergy. I didn't know any kids that had anxiety and depression. There were no kids on medications when I was growing up. Now, 1 in every 3 people are on medications. In 1950, 1% of the population was pre-diabetic. Today, 50% of the population is pre-diabetic. That is shocking to me. I could go on and on with some statistics. I am loaded with statistics. I'm going to give you one more. $4.5 trillion, 500% more than what our military cost, is the amount of money that we spend on chronic conditions each and every year. 95% of all medical costs are related to chronic conditions. However, after I tell you what I'm about to tell you, it will not surprise you either. Basically, in the 1980s, for those of you who were teenagers or older in the 1980s, you probably remember the Marlboro Man, and you remember it being cool to smoke in the 70s. And then in 1980, the cigarette industry was forced to release the Surgeon General warning started going on the side of cigarette packs. Those of us who remember those images, remember your brain on drugs and the eggs and the frying pan and all that stuff, like, for those of us who remember that kind of stuff, that had an impact. That put a big dent in the cigarette industry and all of the people coming out, the people that were talking through a voice box in their throat from throat cancer from smoking. Like, those types of things, they leave a mark, right? Images leave a mark. What happened in the 80s that was so dramatic that caused kids all over the place to start having autism and peanut allergies and diabetes and all the rest of that stuff? It is shocking. So what happened is the people who own the cigarette companies bought the food companies. They're like, we got to get out of the cigarette business. It's not as profitable as it used to be. The best scientists in the world were the scientists that were working for cigarette companies. And so they brought them from the cigarette companies over to the food companies. And the food companies, they were tasked with making food addictive. To heck with the nutritional value of the food. All they wanted to make sure is that we would be addicted to it. So what did they do? They started putting ingredients in there, non-food ingredients, toxic, poisonous ingredients in our food that didn't kill us right away. It doesn't kill you right away. It takes a long time, years and years and years to kill you. But what it does do is it keeps you sick from the time that you start eating and ingesting that stuff until eventually it kills you, which is usually 15 to 20 years sooner than you otherwise would normally live. So not only that, but the food that we eat inevitably requires medications that don't actually cure anything. All they do is make you last a little longer. It's like a preservative. So it preserves you for a little while so you don't die immediately. And now, it doesn't improve the quality of your life. In fact, the side effects, I would suggest, make your life worse. And I know from coming from a place where, like, I had to take a fistful of pills every day after I was shot. And I wondered why I felt crazy. Why was I suicidal? Why did I have the thoughts that I was having? Like, my mom and dad brought me up to be mentally strong. And I would never consider taking my own life. But I found myself thinking about those things within a year or so after I was shot. And the reason why is because the meds I was taking, I had no idea. I didn't know that the side effects of some of the pain meds that I was taking was suicidal thoughts. And I always just thought that's a bunch of nonsense. But it's not a bunch of nonsense. It actually does do that. My point in telling you that story is this. Number one, I have experience with it. I understand what it's like to have those kinds of side effects. But number two, the system's rigged. Did you know that they are prescribing Ozempic pretty much to everyone right now that has diabetes or are pre-diabetic, all the way down to 12 years old? And not only that, they're saying that once you get on it, you need to be on it for life. Well, you know what one of the side effects of Ozempic is? It is depression and anxiety. So guess what? When you're depressed and you're anxious, what does it cause you to do? It causes you to eat more. And when you eat more, the more toxins you put on your body, the bigger you get, the less you feel like doing stuff. So not only does it make you, it sucks the energy out of you, but you're also hungry. Well, so then you need more Ozempic. Like, it's a cycle. One begets the other. It's a vicious cycle, not a virtuous cycle. Most people think that chronic conditions are forever. Once diagnosed, you're like, you have to be like that forever. And that is total BS. You can reverse many of the conditions. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, so this is not me trying to tell anybody, whoever's watching this. This is not Mike saying stop taking your medications. Don't be dumb. Don't do stuff like that. I'm just telling you the reality of what the system is doing. The system is rigged against us. Did you know that there's five big pharma lobbyists for every one congressman? They got 5 people beating on their doors. And imagine, like, there's not a wizard behind the curtain. It would be great if there was just one person that was responsible for all of this. But it's the system. There's too much money involved for any one person to stop it. So let's just say that you're a congressman, right? And you're like, man, I got these people throwing studies at me every day. Look at this study, look at this study, look at this study. I don't know. I'm not a biologist. I'm not a pharmacologist. I don't know this stuff. I get so much data. What do you want me to do? Just say no to all of it? I can't do that. I have to say yes to something. I get it. I don't agree with it, but I kind of get it. I see how the system is jacked up, and it's all money related. And it does, your life, my life, our life expectancy, who cares? I mean, the sicker we are, as long as they can get us sicker quicker, they can make more money, right? So, and a lot of people don't know this, but insurance companies are required to keep their margins at 15%, right? So if you have only 15%, if your only margin can be 15%, how do you charge more? How can you get more money? If I gave you a pie and I said, hey, you can only have 15% of that pie, how could you get more pie? Make the pie bigger. That's how. So a bigger pie means that 15% represents more pie. How do insurance companies make more money? Raise premiums. Premiums have gone up over 2,000% since 1978. They've gone up 100% just in the last decade. They went up 8.9% just last year. Diabetes has gone up 20% year over year. The cost for diabetes has gone up 20% year over year. And none of the $4.5 trillion that's being spent on healthcare is curing anything. In fact, it's getting worse. More and more and more people are getting sicker and sicker and sicker, younger. So the babies that are coming out of the womb are getting vaccinated. It's like, what is going on, man? We literally would be healthier. We would be a healthier people. Americans would be healthier if the cigarette guys would just go back to the cigarettes and leave the food industry alone. Well, and still, you're not supposed to be able to buy cigarettes unless you're 18 years old. Well, guess what? Fruity Pebbles are good for a 3-year-old, right? Like, food is applicable to all ages. So now their target audience it's endless. It's every person that is alive is their target audience. They're no longer relegated to just marketing people who are 18 and older. Now they can market parents to give it to their kids who are 3, 4, 5 years old. And not only that, the parents are consuming the same crap. If you're born after 1988, you've been consuming that crap your whole life. And maybe unbeknownst to you, I think that it's pretty widely known that everything that's processed is bad for you. But the reality is that a lot of this stuff can be fixed with two simple steps. Two simple steps. Move more and eat whole foods. Those two things alone can reverse tons of the conditions that most people face. And your doctor's not going to tell you that. Your doctor might say, yeah, you should exercise more. However, here's a prescription for a statin. Here's a prescription for antidepressant. Here's a prescription for restless leg syndrome. I mean, are you not blown away by the side effects on commercials? Did you know we have over 1,000 ingredients that are approved to be used in our food that are banned in other countries? Did you know that America is the only single country that allows drug companies to advertise on public TV? I mean, it's laughable, right? I mean, some of the side effects, like are death, is a side effect of some of these drugs that I see that are advertised. And I'm just blown away by how brazen they are about it. Like, yeah, come on over and take this stuff. Listen, you won't have backache anymore, but I mean, you could die, or it could cause cancer, or you might start bleeding out of your eyes or go deaf, but your back won't hurt anymore. And it's like, what? I wanted to share this with you guys because, maybe there's a couple of people out there that are depressed, and God bless you if you are. If you have stress, anxiety. By the way, they aren't disorders. Whenever you call something a disorder, it sounds like that it's permanent. Just because you have stress now doesn't mean you're going to have stress your whole life. Just because you have anxiety now doesn't mean you have to have anxiety your whole life. I personally think those are spiritual things, but I'm not going to go down that road right now. I am trying to tell you that the vast majority of the problems that we have as a people have to do with what it is we're putting in our mouths and lack of mobility, lack of exercise. And not people think when you think exercise, they think intense exercise, like, oh, I just can't do it. I'm talking about like going for a walk. I'm not talking about becoming a bodybuilder or getting into CrossFit. So I'm talking about just mildly increasing the level of exercise. I don't think there's anyone on the planet that would disagree with the fact that exercise is advantageous for you. I hope that this content finds you well. I hope that it rings true in your spirit. I think you probably would be able to look around even at people in your life, or maybe even at yourself, and see that, wow, yeah, what he's saying is spot on. That resonates with me. I can see how that would be true. May God bless you and keep you and help you and hold you. May his fingerprints be all over your life. May you know that he is the unmistakably one true God who loves you more than anybody does. Be blessed by the best and have a good day.